Okay, so hi everyone. Welcome to this episode of Book Cafe podcast. I'm extremely uh, I'm extremely privileged to welcome to today's episode Mr. Amit Biswas, the author of this wonderfully entitled book called Logo Land. So, what exactly this book is about, we're going to hear from Amit himself. And but without further ado, first let's welcome him. So, Amit, hi, how are you doing? How are you? Good to see
Good,
you.
good. Thank you very much, Omar. Thank you for having me. It's been a long time since we met in person. It's nice to meet you online as well. Curious to be part of the first book cafe
Yeah.
podcast.
Yes,
So
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah, it's
well,
been an honor. So let's do this.
yeah, let's do this. Okay, so Amit, let's just start. Obviously, as you've alluded to, we do actually know each other. I've known you for a long time now. But for our viewers who may be, discovering you for the very first time, do tell us a bit about yourself, your background, anything that you can share with us before proceeding on to talking about the book. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I know you since I think 2009, if I'm
Yeah,
correct.
2009.
So,
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, we had the privilege to work together
Yeah.
under one roof. So it has been a great time, good old days, right?
Yeah.
So of course, that brings me back to where I'm from. Of course, born and raised in Bangladesh. I'm proudly, I always say I'm made in Bangladesh.
Mhm.
So very rooted in Bangladesh.
Mm.
So if you compare me to a tree, the root is in Bangladesh and the rest of the part is growing in different part of the world.
Mhm.
So until high school or college, you call it in Bangladesh, I studied in Bangladesh, then moved to India to do my bachelor's, then came back, studied in Bangladesh, worked in Bangladesh. Then, in 2011, I moved to Netherlands to do my master's. And just like that, almost more than 10 years passed away. And I'm Dutchy, I'm proud Dutchy, and still also a proud Bangladeshi living in the Netherlands. So
Yes, absolutely. Fantastic. So really happy to hear that. So 2011, so that's around 11 years that you've now been in the Netherlands. Is there anything that you miss about being back in Bangladesh? The food, family, etc. Anything at all that you really miss the most?
you touched the right point, the food.
Okay.
Of course, I miss the food. I mean, Bangladesh is a country of flavors. We're a country of flavors, and you yourself, who's a lot into history, and as I know you personally, so that's you know that our country has a blend of flavors from history from different part of the world, and food is one of the things that you really miss. And I thought I would never say this. I do miss the sun
You miss the sun.
sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Sun, yeah. So because when you're in Bangladesh, you try to hide from the sun because it's so hot,
Yes.
right? And living in the Netherlands, where 50% of the time is raining,
Oh,
right?
okay. So 50%, that's
So
quite a big amount.
50% of the time is raining.
Wow.
So then you started saying, "Oh, I miss the sun."
Okay.
And friends and family, of course, you miss, right? So that's something you live back, but that's the bargain you have to do when you're living abroad. You cannot have it all.
Mm.
So but now I'm also happy that I've made friends here. I have people whom I call family. So I'm in a very privileged position to have two homes, a lot of friends in both part of the world. And yeah, so I do miss it, but also I have grown my own family and food, and I can cook myself, so that's that helps a lot.
Absolutely. And so I recall that you did come to Bangladesh last year, and then obviously before that we had the COVID pandemic, which is still ongoing. But since 2011, have you had the chance to actually visit Bangladesh more often, or once a year, for example, or every other year, something like that?
No, I kind of made a deal with my parents back home, is that I'll try to come every once in 2 year, and the other year I'll travel somewhere else in the world. So that's a deal I made, or I also try to bring them here time to time.
Mm.
So 2018 I was there because I got married in Bangladesh as well. So that time I was there, and yeah, last time when we met. So
Mm.
It was a good conversation over some coffee we had. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes, absolutely. And yes, and I can, yes, so definitely it's wonderful to hear that your parents are still here and you obviously have your roots in Bangladesh. So wherever you go, there's a saying that you can take a man out of Bangladesh, but you cannot take Bangladesh out of a man, right?
never,
Yeah,
never.
absolutely. Okay. So Amit, just coming to the book itself, I had the pleasure of reading it last year. And so before our interview, I decided to just go through a quick refresh just to get my mind back to what it was all about. But for our viewers who may not have read the book yet, but are planning to do so, can you tell us what you mean by the title Logo Land and the subtitle as well, a compilation of all the municipality logos of the Netherlands? So can you
So
explain these points?
yeah, the logo land. I mean, first of all, the name of the country where I live in right now, my second home, is Netherlands. The land is already there, part of the name, right? And just to give you the word Netherlands comes from the word Nederlanden, means lowland, right? Because Netherlands is below the sea level. Quite geographically, we're quite similar. Very low, very flat country, prone to floods. So the word land is kind of there, and I thought, why not have the word logo into it? Because there's so many logos in a country which is 3 times smaller than ours.
Mhm.
So I mean, Bangladesh is small. Netherlands is very small.
Very
It's
small.
almost I can reach from Amsterdam to the south of the point of the country in 2.5 hours or 3 hours by train. So it's that small.
Oh, wow.
And in a country, yeah, it is very small, very flat. And the country also has a lot of municipality, like we have in Bangladesh as well.
Mm.
And the country has at this moment 352 municipality, and every municipality has a logo.
Mhm.
That's why this book compiles all the logos of the municipalities in the Netherlands in one compact format, easy to read, easy to understand. This book is not just to tell the story, it's also to archive the information. That was a very key part of my research, or the reason I decided to write it and publish it. I could have just written it and put it online.
Mhm.
Maybe the one day website would have been gone. So was the information.
Yeah.
So the reason I decided to publish it, so kind of to frame it and forever, whether I am leaving or the website is not there, the book will probably will stay.
Mm.
So
Absolutely. And Amit, it's interesting that you say that there's currently 352 municipalities. But from what I understood from the book, that at one time, maybe 100 years ago, there was as many as 1,000 municipalities. Is that correct?
yeah, exactly. So there was a lot.
Mm.
So now just try to, I mean, again, the country is so small, right? And they had so many municipalities, right? So there was thousands of them. But over the time, so what they do in the Netherlands is that they try to combine. They call let's merge the municipalities together.
Mm.
In that way, you have more power, more money. It's
Mm.
a very important part, right? To manage a city well, you also need money.
Mm.
So the unity is kind of power, so they kind of march together. So they take over a small municipality and merge it to make one bigger.
Yeah.
So that has been happening, and it is an ongoing process. The time I started writing,
Mm.
and by the time I started finish, we have lost several municipalities. When I say lost, they have marched.
Okay.
So they
Understood.
don't no longer exist. The
Right.
logos and information have been wiped off. It does not exist anymore.
Mm.
So so right now, as we speak today, in my book, I have 355, and today is 252, right?
Okay. So you've lost
So
about
as you see, yeah, so I lost three
yeah,
of them.
lost three right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so that's what you see. So over the time, it's getting reduced, which is nothing wrong but what is missing is that there has been no initiative from any side, whether called government, to archive this information, because they do archive some information such as the municipality flags, the coat of arms of the cities, but not the logos. They archive that because the coat of arms and the flags is usually awarded by the royal decree of the Netherlands. So it's connected to the royal family, the kingdom of the Netherlands. So that's why they have a control over it. They want to archive those historical information. But logos has a free playing ground, which is also good. It allows you to be more creative, more innovative when it comes to design, but the information gets lost over the time, right? So any design, any logo that we speak of, doesn't matter what, if it's a city or a company or a person even, these logos are designed by a designer, and it is all the logos in Netherlands are purely Dutch designs, and over the time they get lost because they're not been archived, or even the designers don't exist anymore, some of them, right? So that information just gets lost over time.
Interesting.
So you see, I think over the time it will get more reduced. Maybe one day we'll have 200 municipalities. So then we'll lose another 150. So that's that was one of the drive I realized while doing the research as well, or writing the book.
Interesting. So, Amit, tell us a little bit about the initial inspiration that you got for actually writing this, book and the project, and the initial interest that you had in the logos itself. Can you tell us a little bit about how that actually came about?
So my background is, of course, marketing branding. I like that. It's just I really enjoy the psychological part of how marketing and branding drives people, and we see that day to day, every day. We have massive brands in our life, which kind of I dare to say they dictate sometimes our life, right? And they're so powerful. Sometimes you even judge people by the brand they wear, which is wrong, but we do that. So the inspiration, of course, there's a link to that, being a student of marketing or lover of design. And on top of that, the question why is since I think I was a child, I have always asked why does it look like that, why does it work like that? So that question kind of led me to the troubles of this writing the book. So what happened is that I live in a city called Eindhoven in the Netherlands. It's one of the fifth largest city in the Netherlands.
Can I ask how far it is from Amsterdam, Eindhoven?
Yeah, from Amsterdam is relatively bigger. So it depends which part of the Amsterdam you are. It's 1 hour 15 minutes by train, so it's not that far. Okay. Though it's like 120, 140 kilometers, but it's quite fast to travel. No traffic jam, so that is good. Okay. So what is happening is that one day in 2016, I'm living in this city called Eindhoven since 2012. So in 2016, the city launched their logo. They're one of their, I think, not the first logo, the current logo, the newest logo. And the logo has been in this, you could see this logos popping out in the city in different places. Yeah. So when you walk to the city center of the city, you see there's called information beacon or information board where you can touch and get information. It's just like a touch screen, pops up in several places in the city, and the logo was there. So I looked at the logo and I said, what is this? Why does it look like that? A simple question, why does it look like that? And that led me to the question led me to the action of finding the information. Just like you and me were a colleague, and if I had a question, I would just walk up to you and say, hey, Omar, can you explain me why it is like that? So I walked up to another colleague where I was working at that time, and I asked him, he's a Dutch guy, he's from this area, and I asked him, hey, do you know this logo? He said, yeah, I know this logo, I said, great. So what does it mean? Why does it look like that? And he says, I have seen it, but I don't know.
So your colleague didn't know what the logo meant.
No. What is the meaning behind it, right? So there's always a meaning. there's nothing in the world, even in the shelf behind you, the design, the way it has been made, there's a reason why it has been made to keep the books on a vertical or a horizontal format. Otherwise, it would have been inclined, right? So I asked him that question, and he didn't know. So that evening, I came home, and after work, I just searched. I found the information very easily because it's one of the few largest cities in the Netherlands, and the information was there. I went back, very the way you explain to a 5-year-old, I explained to him. Very simple language. The logo means this, and he found it very interesting. Like, wow, I didn't know that. And that point, at that moment, I don't have the specific date, which day it was, and I thought that's a great idea. He doesn't know. So Netherlands is very digitalized. It's really extremely digitalized country. So I just went online. There's a website called Central Bureau of Statistics, where you can find all the statistical information, how many municipalities are there, all the list of municipalities in alphabetical order. I just downloaded it.
Understood.
So there was, I think, around 370 or 80 that time when I started. I said, wow, 380, no problem. I'll spend 10 minutes a day. Very simple math. And even in a less than a year, I'll probably finish it because the year has 365. Someday I'll do more than one. I'll be done with it.
So
And
I'll just interrupt you a little bit here. So what you're saying is that you had budgeted that at least 1 year is the time that you would need to do all your research and get the book out. But in reality, how long did it actually take you to get
it took me 4 years.
4 years. Wow. And I'm sure you must have thought, oh, wow, I must have really mismatched the time or something like that. Yeah.
No, because I was in a notion that a country that is so digital, where information is nowadays, if you think about it, everything that we don't know, we Google it, right?
True.
I mean, and I thought I'll just Google it and find it. Very, very simple. I kept it very simple, and I was too naive to expect that because I thought there'll be information enough, but there was not. There was not. Even in a country which is highly digitalized, the information was missing. And that led me to, I'll be honest with you, Omar, within that time, there was a phase where I was frustrated. I would not say it was a ride on a rainbow, easily I did it, everything was fine, sun was shining. No, there was actually 50% of the rainy days while writing the book. So there was time I said, what I have got myself into. But there's this motto. I mean, I'm in this sense, I'm pretty black and white. Either I do it or I don't do it.
Absolutely.
There's no half
Absolutely.
done. No.
For sure. So I am really, it's really interesting to hear that, Amit. So you basically, essentially, what I've gathered is that you like to finish what you start. I think that's very true. And secondly, I was reading a couple of books by Walter Isaacson, the renowned journalist who wrote a lot of biographies. And he said that one of the very common things that he saw in his subjects like Leonardo da Vinci, Steve Jobs, Ben Franklin, etc., is that they were all driven by one thing called curiosity, right? So would you say, and I think that curiosity is basically what led you to this project in the first place. So in addition to being somebody who finishes what he starts, would you say that you're by nature a very curious person? Would you agree?
I'm a very curious person, yes. By nature, comparing myself to Da Vinci or Steve Jobs is too much, but I would say I am definitely curious. Is in a world where we are bombarded with information. This is my view. This very personal view is that we are constantly, since the invention of smartphone, basically, we are bombarded with information. The media kind of guides you through subconsciously how you think and how you should look at things and what you should buy, right? So in that world, we forget sometimes to ask the question why. And one of the reason I think is not only the curiosity part. I asked myself that question as well. Why did I write that? Why didn't I write that in Bangladesh, right? Why didn't I write that when I was doing my bachelor studies in India? So I think another important thing that I came to the answer to is that perspective, curiosity combined with perspective. That I always say the perspective matters, because when you and me travel to a different country, we see different things, right? And that's what makes traveling fun. If otherwise it would have been like, oh, why did I travel 5,000 kilometer and still everything is the same? And what intrigues us, our brain, is that the way the houses are built, the way the signboards are written, everything, even the trees, subconsciously, that's what makes a holiday great, because it's something different. And it has to do with the perspective, because Omar or Amit, being born in Bangladesh, has been rooted to a certain way of growing, and we take things for granted. When I walk in the city in Dhaka, my lovely hometown, I never question a lot of things, because I have always seen it. It has always been there. I've never questioned why it is like that. But the moment you come to Netherlands, you start taking picture of things where Dutch people were like, why Omar is taking picture of that? It is just a normal sign. But again, when a Westerner comes to Bangladesh, you see they're taking picture of things, and we are looking at them as if, why are you taking picture of that? Because the perspective, the way the person is coming from, where it's coming from, it's differing to that him or her, and that leads to the curiosity or the question, like, oh, that is interesting. Let me take a picture. So when I brought my my in-laws in Bangladesh in 2018, they asked me many questions, which I have never asked myself about Bangladesh, right?
Yeah.
So I think the curiosity led with the perspective of in the Netherlands, that the logos, because in Bangladesh we have city corporations, right? We have logos as well, but you don't see them that often. Or it's very government design driven. You have our water lily everywhere, take it for granted. We don't ask that. So when I saw that there was something different happening here, I call the glitch in the matrix, right? So that was basically it. And I asked, like, why it is like that? Why they have it? Why don't we have it? So I think it's a combination of both.
That's very interesting. Yes, you're absolutely right. I think that whenever we think of Bangladesh, the first, in terms of logos, the first thing that comes to mind would obviously be the water lily. The tigers, obviously, very well associated, even though hopefully they won't be becoming extinct anytime soon. But Amit, you mentioned as well during our previous discussions that obviously you expected that maybe everything would be digitized, and so it would be very easy to actually do your research. But apart from the challenge of not finding enough information through the digital archives, what about the human aspect of it? Like, for example, when you were calling, I presume you may have called a lot of people to try and understand what was the history behind the logos. Did you face any opposition or anything like that, or were they cooperative, etc.? Can you tell us about that?
Yes and no. So it's a mix of both, right? So now the difficult part of doing something that has been never done before, you will face obstacle, because you don't have any proof point to the person saying, hey, I am doing this because this has been done before. So somebody randomly asking you about a logo, calling your office right now and asking, hey, tell me, you're like, why? Who is this? Why they're asking about this? Because it's not usually a question that has been asked to me, right?
True.
So like going back to the topic of digitalization, so there was some information which were not existing even in this municipality itself. So municipality of Arnhem, for example, they did not have the information. They just didn't. So because when it was launched, their first logo, and by the time I was talking to the communication advisor of that municipality, there's been many people have come and gone in that position. And for some reason, the information have gone with them. The new person that is working has no idea. right?
Right.
That's a very tricky situation. I mean, I'm having a like a kind of a blockade, right? So obstacle. So in that case, I went to the archives. So I literally drove 140 kilometers to a city archive, searched there. There was a one single piece of paper which contained that information, right? Right. So you book a time, reserve a time, they wait for you, they give you the paper, you research, you write it down. You cannot take it home because it's archive. Then you come back home. So just for the 10 minutes, you drive 1.5, 2 hours one way. And then so that's one. And I didn't stop there. I even took a scan of that information and I shared that with the municipality. I said, keep it because you might need it. You need to know if you're working in a communication department, right? So that is one. And other obstacle, for example, I contacted the several municipalities and you might not get feedback, right? Because they're like, who is this guy? Who is Amit? Who is messaging me? Why? Why they're, because sometimes I need to give you that side of the story as well. The true fact is, a lot of time, the media is also can be quite harsh on this. Because like every city in the world, every city has problems, right? That's why there is a government in a city who manages or try to solve the problem. Sometimes you can question, why are you investing money on designing or a logo where you should be keeping the street clean, the lights running? So there's sometimes a backlash saying, why are you spending the government money, my tax money on this? So that's sometimes the communication advisor a little bit cautious.
Right. And what
Right.
would be your response to that, Amit, for the people who are criticizing the use of, using money to create these logos rather than keep the streets clean? What would be your response to those kind of
No,
people?
my response is actually very simple. Is that when you go to a city and where you see is beautifully branded, even a country, right? And when you look at that, you say, "Oh, I want to be that." Why, for example, like why Bangladesh is not doing enough for tourism? We can always complain about that, right? So but but it's easy to point a finger at another country and say, oh, Thailand is doing it better, Singapore is doing it better, right? uh, if you wanna, let's say I am here, this is Bangladesh and this is Singapore, okay, and I wanna be here, so there's a bridge to cross and it's not gonna happen automatically. You need to build that bridge, and that bridge requires money,
Absolutely.
labor, time. So that's number one. And when you do a branding well, when you establish your country or a city well branded, well represented to the outside world, it attracts investment and attracts people. It helps the business to boost. So in the long term, you benefit from it rather than not benefit from it. And you can literally compare that with the products that in a day-to-day we have, which is, for example, we are willing to pay a well-designed, well-branded product a little bit more money compared to not so well-designed or well-branded, because the brand value, the price you get, there's a abstract value to it. So I think it should be one of the motivation to do it. You don't have to do it every year. You do it once, and if you have a timeless, very important, timeless design and a well communication strategy, you can have a, for a long time, 20 years, just eyes closed and benefit from it.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think that should be, that should be one of the motivation to do it.
True, true. Very well said. I think that exactly right. So basically, it is the branding that eventually pays off in the long run. So it is kind of like a return on investment. And so,
Exactly.
yes, I think that you pointed out extremely well. So Amit, just bringing it back to Bangladesh a little bit. I think that you mentioned once that you were also trying to help, uh, uh, do something similar with regards to the municipalities in Bangladesh. Is that something that you're currently doing, or looking at it as a future project, or anything like that?
I did look into it. I did look into it. In Bangladesh has A2I, ATY is a digital segment part of the, I think, Ministry of Information, I guess, and Technology. They're busy with that in some shape and form, but I think there's a lot to improve, I guess. So recently, through the book, I got to know several people. That was what was amazing. I got to know the ambassador of Bangladesh in the Netherlands, and recently he has given the book to our mayor Atik for Dhaka City North as an example. That's one of the reasons also, even though I'm in Netherlands, the language is predominantly Dutch. I wrote the book in English. It's not just to be, because Dutch people, almost 90 to 95% people speaks pretty good English. It was I would say, call it a crazy or brave move to do it in English in a country where I could have definitely have more reach when it had been Dutch.
Was in Dutch.
But my reach I didn't want to limit to a geographical boundary. I wanted to expand it outside Netherlands. So the book was given by the ambassador of Bangladesh, Mr. Riaz Hamidullah, to our mayor recently as an example, also something to learn from. So if Bangladesh municipality is, or any municipality in Bangladesh is willing to learn from it, I'm open to support them. Why not? I mean, it would be great. I'll be very proud to do that, right? So for my own city. And I think Bangladesh has, like every city or every municipality, such a rich history. Like no matter where you go, which division you go, they have their own little things that makes them, right? And I think we can highlight them as well. So that can be based on unique characteristic, maybe based on the history, maybe, or can be maybe something that you strive to be, right? Maybe you don't have a history, maybe you want to be something. So you can also portray that through your logos and branding. So I think, and that will attract people, and that will make you feel proud to live in, for example, in Dhaka, right? That, or I mean, it would be even, I'll give you the most wildest thing I found is that the city logo of Eindhoven, people even tattoo it on their hand and in their body.
Wow, that's very interesting.
That is permanent, right?
Yes, absolutely.
That is, yeah. So you see that the people love it. They're not afraid of it. They put it on their T-shirt, on their cap. How often have you seen a logo of a municipality of any of Bangladesh privately putting a logo on the T-shirt and proudly walking around? Right?
Yes, absolutely. I think that yes, you're absolutely right, Amit. And I can only recall I Love New York as the only other city or world-renowned city, probably, obviously New York is a powerhouse, but yes, you're absolutely right. And with regards to the conscious decision that you made, Amit, to have the book in English instead of Dutch, I think you're absolutely right that it will obviously reach a global audience rather than just confined to the Netherlands or to Dutch speakers. And I think that even before this interview, I was actually at least thinking to myself, okay, should we have it in English or should we actually have it in Bangla, so that there's pros and cons to both. But I think that we made the right call in having it in English, so that we can have that global reach, obviously, for the book itself.
No, I'm open. I'm open if somebody reaches out and says, Amit, I want to translate it in Bengali and have it published in Bangladesh. Of course.
That was actually going to be my follow-up question. That is the book going to be translated into Bengali, Bangla anytime soon, or are you looking for?
No, I haven't. I'm open to it, absolutely, right? Because knowledge is grown only when it's shared. I'm not confining it to limited resources, right? That only it should be here. So if somebody is open, says, Amit, I think great idea. I have something more to add. Let's take something from your book, add something from Bangladesh. Let's remix it. Let's go for it. So why not?
Yeah.
Right. So that's why instead of keeping the knowledge to myself, I let it go. I said, it's out there. Have it, make it your own. So any language, why only Bengali? Right. So it can be Dutch, can be German, can be French.
Absolutely.
So any language is more than welcome. But right now there's no plan to translate it in other languages.
Understood. And so if I understand correctly, currently at this point in time, the book is only available in English.
Correct.
Is it available in Bangladesh, for example? I know that I got my copy, obviously specially delivered to me from Europe. But will it be available in Bangladesh anytime soon for your fans here who would want to read it?
Right now it's not. You can directly contact me. I can of course send it to you. That is not an issue. And in Bangladesh, if some bookstores, for example, Bookworm, which recently moved, or some other reading cafe in Banani, there's couple of them, right? So, or libraries, for example, if you're interested to have the book, of course I'll send it. Right now it's not directly available. But if anybody interested or publishers who are interested. But what is interesting to add to that is that it not necessarily has to be for selling, right? The book is right now available in the 12 universities as well in the world. And very interestingly enough, it's predominantly in North America.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the book is actually traveling more than I have traveled. So which is very, yeah. So right now I didn't write it for academic purpose, but the book is now also used for academic purposes,
being used,
right?
Yeah. So Amit, sorry to interrupt. So if I may ask, how well has the book been received by the general public as well as the world of academics? How would you respond to that with regards to that?
I think of course, as I was doing something totally out of my comfort zone, and I was actually nervous the day the book was printed and actually was published. I was very nervous because I was doing something which has not been written before. So I was really curious, cautious, like how people gonna react. And I was writing about a country where I was not born. Right, and this information is sensitive information. It has to be very accurate. You cannot just write something out of your own head, just and your own interpretation. So I was very positively surprised at how well it was received. The amount of positive feedbacks I got, I was running high on dopamine, I would say. It was like constant compliment. And the best part is, Omar, is that when people whom you absolutely don't know, living in a different part of the country in the Netherlands, writing a message. So that person is, first of all, in a country which is very individualistic, crossing the boundary of individualism, finding my email or my contact to write me a message. That is the highest compliment I would get, I would say. So that was very well received. The media